Hello, fellow detectives. Welcome to Unlocked, the official podcast for all things Nancy Drew by Her Interactive. I'm your host, Tammy Tuckey, and this week we welcome voiceover artist Billie Wildrick to the show. Welcome, Billie.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Proud and happy to have you on the show. We only have a few guests on the show who have voiced various or more than one character, so you're going to be on that roster this time around, which is awesome. So
I love short list for anything.
And you're a singer, and you've been a singer for one of the main themes of one of the games, and usually we don't get like a theme song, so we'll get into that in a second. But first I wanted to talk to you about your entrance into the creative world as a performer, a voiceover artist, a singer. So what kind of drew you to that initially?
Gosh, well, I can't even remember that far back, because I had to be 4 years old when I was playing with my stuffed animals. I used to play my mom's old LPs of musicals like Camelot and Jesus Christ Superstar, and I would act out the musicals using my stuffed animals and giving them voices. And then when I'd play with my friends, I'd tell them, okay, we're playing Army and I'm the general and this is your character and your character doesn't like this character, ready, go. And we'd play that way. So I just was always a theater human. Like, I didn't choose to go into it. It's just who I was. And I think I thought I was going to be something else. I think I thought maybe I would be a journalist or a ballerina or something when I was little. And even when I was in high school, I was still sort of poking around. I was doing theater, but I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't thinking about my career. I'm not a great thinker about career anyway. I just like to make art. I just like to do all the things and get my fingers in as many artistic pies as possible.
Did you read a lot? Like, did you ever, pick up a Nancy Drew book, or did you ever hear about her initially, like way before the games and before being a part of the actual games you did do?
Sure, I remember Nancy Drew. I was reading Nancy Drew right around when I was reading. Remember those Choose Your Own Adventure books?
Yes, I do.
That was my real bottom line. I liked to read that book and see how many different outcomes how many different storylines I could make. Mm-hmm. And just going back to the beginning and making my different choices.
That's awesome. No, I think it's another reason like the games are such a draw to us players, because there's so many different conversations, as you do know. Like, there are so many things that you get to record as an artist, and what Nancy gets to do, or the player themselves gets to choose, like what type of path they're going to go on, because the game can have different meanings and it ends different ways, but it's always like a choose your own adventure, choose how you want to go by it, which I thought was always amazing. So when were you introduced to Her Interactive, the team, like when you were auditioning for the project, or?
I was brought into it by, and I think you've spoken to her, Catherine Grant-Setti was working for them, and she reached out to me because they were looking for more local actors, and I got looped in that way. When was it? 2014. And she said, oh, this is just the coolest gig. It's the coolest group of people. You're going to love this. And I think you're just the right fit. And that's I went in and did. Yeah, it was really cool. And I did the Greek character first, Melina Rossi. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from Labyrinth of Lies, which she's not even a face character. She's just on the phone, which is interesting because usually we get a lot of face characters, but she's one of the curators of the museum in Greece, the Cultural Center, right. For just as a refresher for our listeners. So, again, we'll be kind of jumping into spoiler territory. So if you haven't played Labyrinth of Lies or Sea of Darkness, just be aware. but Labyrinth of Lies. So I I guess like when I initially first played the game, I thought Melina, since she was the one that called on Nancy, usually anybody who calls on Nancy is the one who is always usually innocent, unless there's like a mix-up or a stir where it's something totally different. But I always felt bad for her, because can you imagine being a curator and losing art pieces? Like that's scary, especially priceless stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally I remember that session. We had so much fun in the studio, and I think that's why the next time around I got I got a face character. I got a better role, because we just had so many laughs. And when I was done with all of her lines, I was like, well, shoot.
Aw.
Let's do more. I want to do more of this. So,
well, how long did it take for the recording session for Labyrinth?
We were in there just for maybe an hour and a half. It's pretty quick, because you're not there with the rest. You don't have to play, of course, in game order, and you've got your list of lines, and then someone in the control room will feed you. Or I particularly asked, because it's easier for me if I really understand the dialogue, would give me my cue line, or what Nancy would say to me, and we would just do a few takes of each line, and they'd give me some direction sort of based on the context of the rest of the game that I may not have known about. And yeah, it was really fast.
But you didn't know how it would end, correct?
Right. No, I got nothing about the context of the game. I knew about my character and what my character was facing. But it's sort of fun. Like if you put me on stage in the play of Labyrinth of Lies, I'd learn all sorts of things about what happens.
Yes.
And that would be really fun to see what the other characters are up to.
So when you played the game, were you kind of surprised of the turn it took?
Oh no, Tammy, I didn't play the game.
Billie! No, it's okay. We have a couple people who have never played the games before. Like, they've watched them or watched segments just to hear themselves in it. I just didn't know for sure.
Yeah, no, I've watched some segments, and just to sort of see how it went, but I couldn't figure out at the time my computer setup. I just couldn't figure out how to get it going. I'm gonna have to play it though. Now that we've talked, I feel so ashamed.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Sometimes they are difficult games. It's not like one of those things you just plug in and you play for 10 minutes. It's one of those that takes probably 2 days to get it done, if you want to take breaks to eat. So it's okay. It takes some time, but it is a really fun game. So do you not know how it ends then?
I don't know how it ends.
Okay, I'll keep that a secret, because I want you to enjoy it. I don't want to spoil it for you.
Okay. You said spoiler alerts. You had no idea you were going to be talking about me.
Nothing. Melina is okay in the end. I will say that. But okay. I guess in the middle of the game, you probably do remember this. She has to fire Nancy only because she wants to make sure she's not going to get hurt by whoever's stealing the art. Basically. Yeah. So that's like one of those sad moments. It's like, oh, Melina and Nancy have a rapport, and she has to go and fire her, which was always sad.
Yeah,
so.
I remember doing those lines. I remember getting the notes about that and how I really had to be mean to Nancy for her own good.
Yeah. Oh, it was so sad. But, you did have a cool office. So when you get to check out the game, your office is pretty awesome. Like, it's cool to have an office in a museum, you know what I mean? I think that who wouldn't want to work at a museum?
Totally.
It's really cool. And then the next game you work on was Sea of Darkness, which is one of the most recent games from the Nancy universe. And this is Elisabet. And this is one that you actually have to use a certain type of accent for. So how did you dive into that initially when you got the information that you were going to play a character for this game?
Well, so Melina was Greek, so I took some time to wrap my head around that, and some listening to wrap my head around the cadence of that. And then Elisabet is Icelandic, and that's a tough one. It's a tough one to hunt down really good examples. I started with Bjork, and I listened to a lot of Bjork music because I knew I was going to have to sing. And trying to figure out the music of the language, because it's one thing to sort of be able to say one thing two people generally. It's another thing to be able to converse. I wanted to sort of capture the ups and downs of it. I don't know if I did a good job, but I took a lot of time trying to wrap my head around that and wrap my tongue around it.
Overall, I was like, I thought it was really great, and I thought it was in a unique location too, Iceland. Have you ever been there before, or did they tell you a little bit more about it, or did you do a little bit of a research to get kind of like a feel for it?
I did a little bit of research. I haven't been. Everybody's going now. They've really done a big push for tourism, and I feel like I'm there right now with this foot of snow we have on the ground. But I have yet to go, and I'd really like to. It made for a very beautiful. The shots that I've seen of it, it's a very beautiful game. I think it's just got a particularly compelling visual aspect to it. I think it was a cool setting.
I always thought it was interesting, like with the whole theme of the game itself, there's like this ship that she gets to be on, and it's like this gorgeous type of ship. It's like something that comes out of like a storybook. I thought that was so interesting, and she's also a businesswoman. She owns the pub. So you got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Did you play this one too, or did you get to watch a little bit of clips of your character in the game?
I watched clips of it. I still haven't. I just haven't figured out how to make it work on my Mac, but I'm going to now. But I spent a little bit of time poking around just because I wanted to see how the song fit in, and because I loved that lyric so much, and I wanted to understand more about that story. And I had a friend in it as well that I wanted to hear.
Oh, cool! Who?
Dane Stokinger.
Oh,
he's another Seattle actor.
Who did he play?
I'm trying to remember. It was Soren. Does that sound like the right name? Soren?
Yeah, he played Soren, correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Catherine played Dagny.
The theming and the story behind it, I thought was so interesting, which leads me to the question regarding the song, which is The Word I Couldn't Keep. When did they officially decide that they wanted to have you sing this song?
Right when they hired me. I think that's why I got this character. I think they wanted that character to voice that song, and they knew that I was a singer. Much of what I do is work in the musical theater, so I think they were looking to take advantage of that aspect of having me on the game. So right away, I chatted via Skype and email with Thomas because he's in Europe, and Katie delivered me the lyric and was in the session.
It's such a beautiful song, because when I first heard it, I believe, I'm trying to remember when we heard it in the game, but when I had the soundtrack, when I had purchased the soundtrack, I listened to it, and I'm like, this is like a movie theme. I was like, wow, it's like nice and lush. It starts out very calm and cool, and then it just becomes something bigger, and it's vocally a challenging song. Like I can definitely hear it from that end, but it's so seamless for your voice. It sounds beautiful. So how long did it take to officially learn the song?
How long? Gosh, I'm not sure. I took right to it, and Thomas had pre-recorded the orchestral track that you hear. So I wasn't in a session with an orchestra or anything, and I had that tool to listen to, and he sent the sheet music, and I taught it to myself pretty quickly, but then I tried to take a lot of time to make sure, when you do a song, you don't want to go back and have the repetition of the chorus always sound the same. You want to, every time you get back to it, have a new reason for saying those words. So I tried to really take my time to break it down and make it active, because I know the Nancy Drew audience would appreciate that more than just if I just sang the song and just tried to sound pretty. And it doesn't play until the very end, I think. It's like the gift you get for finishing the game.
That's right. I was trying to remember, because I remember the backstory behind the song was like really, really sad, about the actual original captain and his wife and him were killed by the town, but their daughter survived. So there was this song about the legend of it, and we had Thomas on the show too. And we spoke about the song too, and I just told him I loved it. I thought it was great, and he said it was a great song. Like getting the chance to write a song for a Nancy Drew game which is so different. I just, it was such a unique opportunity to do that. So
I tried to give it just a light flavor. I tried it at different levels because I liked the music of the sound of that accent. So I gave it like little touches, but I didn't want to lay it on too deep and have it affect the song. I don't know. If you listen really close, you might hear it, or I guess if you knew me better and how I usually would have sung it, you might be able to compare and contrast. But no, I didn't lay it on too thick. I liked the idea that Elisabet actually sang it, so I just tried to give it a little bit of flavor. I hope they do more of that sort of thing. I think maybe because I come from a musical theater tradition particularly, I think characters actually singing, it gives you a new opportunity, a way that they can express themselves. Like there should be one game that's just the musical. Yeah.
I'd love that.
Fun. You can express yourself in such a different way. And more levels of emotion you can bring across when you get to sing.
Well, you have a gorgeous voice. Like, you can cover anything. So I was like, it was just so cool to see, like, how you can alternate between more of a folk song with this one in particular and then other genres. I loved it.
Oh, thank you. I sure enjoy it. And I just love that song has this life and that it connected with the fans. And I loved getting to meet Thomas and Katie, and yeah, it's a cool little highlight in my career and a special thing I got to do.
And what have you been doing up since then? Are you still doing a lot of performing, or are you doing a little bit more voiceover work?
I'm doing a whole lot of directing actually right now. I just directed a big production of Annie at the Fifth Avenue Theater here in Seattle, and I'm going to do a really cool new musical about the Champagne widows, about Veuve Clicquot and all the different widows that really brought the Champagne tradition forward at a cool little theater in Pioneer Square here in Seattle. And then I can't even talk about this one. I have an exciting show coming up at the end of the year that I'm directing. So I guess performing is still on the table. My directing career has some momentum right now, so I've been doing a little bit more of that. Voiceover wise, I don't have anything on the books, so I hope maybe Her Interactive will call me again someday. But I haven't been pursuing that work as much as I did love it. You can find me at billiewildrick.com, and that's Billy with an I-E, and Wildrick is spelled like Wild Rick. So that's where you can get me. And I'm at Billieville, BILLIEVILLE, on Twitter, on Instagram. I pepper all over the internet.
And yeah, I hope we do get to hear more of your performances in some games. That would be great. And let me know what you think of the 2 games overall once you get to play them, because they are a lot of fun. It is hard work, so don't be discouraged.
We have a snow day. You'll be my first call when I've completed them.
That sounds great to me. Well, and my last question for you is, if you could describe your experience working with Her Interactive and being a part of the Nancy Drew universe using one word, what would that be?
I want to say joyful, but that's not enough. It was expansive. It was expanding. It expanded my world.